Digital Domain did that sequence, and it's about 4 square miles of fully digital environment.
If you want to add elements to a miniature, you need to film those with the same motion so that they can all pair with the shot.
This is like a pretty iconic scene from the first movie where you have all of these like wavy horses, horse waves.
How did you get the water to look so good? What are you doing?
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artists React. Today's a very special one because we are joined by none other than the VFX supervisor of Spider-Man, Kelly Port. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I started with Digital Domain and really haven't left Digital Domain. But I've most recently been loaned out by Digital Domain to Marvel and Sony Pictures for Spider-Man No Way Home, where I was the production side supervisor on that.
I really can't wait to hear some of your breakdowns, your insights, and your stories. I know like this is a show that we produce, but in reality, it's an elaborate scheme for Wren and I just to be able to satisfy our quest for knowledge.
Niko, you're spoiling the secret.
I can't wait to jump in. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm the king of the world!
So you did this interview with Vanity Fair, and in it you mentioned the movie Titanic, and specifically one shot called TD-35. Can I get the full story on that shot?
This shot ended up being a very, very expensive shot, you know, like probably $1 million.
Why is it so expensive?
Well, because it was our sort of development shot, meaning a lot of things got worked out on this one shot. It was one of those big wide shots that had a little bit of everything in it. It's got the smoke, it's got birds, it's got bow wakes, it's got side wakes, it's got the ocean, it's got sky, it's got digital characters walking around for the crowd and the passengers. It's got everything.
I'm definitely noticing a whole lot in this shot right now. The key lights are at different angles. So like right at the very beginning, the two characters are backlit, even though the sun's coming from the right. But as it goes on, we see their shadows kind of just going directly to the right of the boat. You know, just 90 degrees to the direction of the boat. And then there's like a bit of a transition where then the shadows are kind of going to like a 45-degree angle backwards a little bit. And then as we keep going, suddenly the shadows are now directly backwards.
Yeah, and it's because everything looks better backlit.
Yeah.
So it's a dynamic backlighting. It's one of those filmmaking techniques that just so tried and true that just people just don't even really notice it. You know, a lot of this was early days of motion capture, early days of like all of this kind of stuff. You know, film had to be scanned, all of this miniature photography. We would shoot one day, look at it in dailies the next day, call out printer lights and things like that. Like that was all very much in the film days. And even the file format was RGB.
Just straight up RGB?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like .RGB?
Yeah. This is before EXRs were invented. This is almost before the internet was invented.
I'm really curious about the water because you shot a miniature with a motion control rig. If you want to add elements to a miniature, you need to film those with the same motion so that they can all pair with the shot. And this is before we could do CG simulations of water, as far as I understand. So how did you get the water to look so good? What are you doing? I'm assuming the miniature wasn't in water when you filmed it, was it?
No, the miniature itself is about 40 feet long. If you wanted to do something like that, you would have to now scale up the move to shoot the water, which is now at a different scale. So then you'd have to have essentially a motion control move from a helicopter. But no, it's CG water.
For the foam waves coming off the bow of the ship, is that like a texture that you guys filmed? Like, do you guys film an actual wake and like texture project that onto the water, or are you just doing a lot of fancy texture work there?
That's all built into the water surface render, and then the particles, the foam, it all sort of had to be handcrafted at that point.
I can't believe how good it looks. Like, you guys nailed it. It is spot on. Pure artistry, just going like, all right, I think these are the right color values. Let's go for it.
It's why I had many sleepless nights.
Yeah.
So what I'm noticing here is that right at the beginning, we are seeing what has to be the real Leonardo DiCaprio there with his friend. Like, so that's a real shot, but we're also now looking at the miniature shot, and it's a seamless transition there. So there's got to be some degree of scaled motion control for the camera.
Absolutely.
And then maybe even a CG takeover?
So what happens on a shot like that, where you start off close and you've got the live action actors. Basically what you do is you kind of just go around them and you do that move as far as you can do it on the soundstage and the track in the room that you actually have. Hold the camera there at the end and just let them continue acting, but we can't pull any further back. So at that point, you're just in a locked off camera situation, and then you just scale that image
As like a little 2D
as
card.
a little 2D card at a certain point. That move is scaled down to fit the miniature, and then that's programmed into the motion control move, so that's doing the exact same move now on the miniature, and then you can overlay those two.
Interesting.
You basically literally just like you 3D tracked the scene and exported the camera and loaded it up onto a robot arm.
Yes. And we actually did something like that in Spider-Man No Way Home. There was a shot where Peter is walking to the sanctum and he's like, has his phone and he's crossing the street. Obviously the sanctum's not there. We had to replace that part of it. That intersection, we went to New York, put track down, shot that. So on the left and the right and across the street, that's all New York, and the sanctum is digital. We had to shoot Tom's side of that on blue screen. So what we did was we match moved what we shot in New York, programmed that into a techno dolly, which is essentially a programmable techno crane. And then we did that move, the exact same move that we shot in New York, but now with Tom over blue screen.
Wow, okay,
And then we
okay.
sandwiched those two together.
Wow, I love that.
It's easy to shoot a lock-off plate and shoot a blue screen later and marry those two together.
Yeah.
But when you have a big push-in like this and dynamic changing perspective over the course of the shot, it's a lot harder to do that.
So at this point, is there like a full perfect 3D reconstruction of New York, like on the servers somewhere at Digital Domain or Disney or something?
You would think by now. I think so. The Ak reveal sequence on that bridge, Digital Domain did that sequence, and it's about 4 square miles of fully digital environment. Trees and water and you name it, it's all out there. And beyond that is probably a lower resolution version. It's still 3D, but just maybe more projected.
But you have to have that 4 square miles of high-res 3D stuff because the bridge is fairly large and the camera is going to be in a lot of different spots throughout that sort of area.
It's a big decision up front to say, okay, we're going to build this all 3D. We're going to build 4 square miles of 3D.
Okay, yeah.
Is a big decision and a very time-consuming and expensive decision. But knowing that the sequence is probably going to be evolving and changing over the course of the filmmaking process, meaning we have this new idea for a shot. We're not going to go and shoot it. We're not going to go back and shoot live action. But we have maybe additional photography. We shoot somebody on a blue screen foreground. Or maybe the continuity, the edit has changed and things have shifted around. And now we're like on the other side completely. So we're having to redo all these things. Having that full 3D asset at your disposal, if you know that things are probably going to change in these kind of films, it's very fluid. Knowing that is, I think, a very smart decision of them to sort of create that.
Man, the best part about this part is subscribe! Thank you, I appreciated that. Now on to the next one. Subscribe! Oh, you thought it was over? No, I didn't hear you ring that bell. Shame on you, but oh, I heard it. Thank you.
Evil is stirring in Mordor. Ring has awoken.
You actually worked on Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, which I find interesting because I legitimately thought only Weta Digital worked on that movie, but you were part of Digital Domain at the time.
I'm not sure the whole reason why they reached out to us, but I'm glad they did. I love the sequence. Water sims at this time were very, very challenging and kind of in their infancy. And I remember these first couple shots where the big volume of water is coming down the canyon. We hadn't seen that kind of stuff before. And so seeing a sim like that is like, oh, this is really cool.
Oh, I bet, yeah. This is like a pretty iconic scene from the first movie where you have all of these like wavy horses, horse waves.
The horses were animated and then sort of rendered as water. And then you have sort of a layer of just stuff that murks it up, because you want splashes, you don't want it to look super clean and composite-y, We ended up just doing an actual plastic render of the horses and then just barely just sort of printing that in because it helped sell the shape of the horses.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Because when we were rendering them as just regular water, they weren't clear enough. It was like more of like a volume render.
Almost like the clouds.
Kind of like a cloud render almost with some noise in it.
You still want the overall feeling to be that they're made out of water, but if you just do that for real all the way, it's just a water render, you lose some of that shape.
What we wanted to do initially was to scout a dam because they said they could potentially do an emergency water release for us. We're there like almost 2 hours. And the guy's like, oh yeah, we can't really do that because we're having a drought.
Oh.
And we're like, oh.
Yeah, okay.
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 So, oh well.
What was the most nervous you've ever been for a shot where you were tasked with executing a shot or supervising a shot and you had no idea how you're going to pull it off?
Oh my God. I think we were really nervous with Thanos. We were quite happy with it, but we knew that we had to pull something off that hadn't really been pulled off before. Josh Brolin hadn't seen our proof of concept yet. And this was the first day of Josh Brolin shooting as Thanos. And they're showing it to him a few hours before.
Oh boy.
Wow.
And
pressure.
so it was a little bit nerve-wracking. Like I said, we felt good about it, but he ended up like really liking it. And I think more than anything, his takeaway from the test was how subtle he could play the performance. Typically, a lot of performers will, knowing that they're doing motion capture, facial motion capture, or even body capture, tend to go bigger because they feel like there's some kind of filter that if they go bigger, more of their performance will come out, you know? It doesn't really work that way. It just makes it look bigger. And I think that was so good that we ended up showing him on that day because he ended up playing the character that way.
I certainly noticed a lot of that subtlety, especially like early on when he's kind of just like, you get those extreme close-ups and you know, he's got like a little bit like a micro like squinting of his eyes or just like a little bit of a slight turn up of the lips for a grin. But that's the whole reasoning behind having an actual performer drive the ship on a character like this.
Absolutely. And we made sure in our proof of concept test that it was 100% unmanipulated by any kind of additional animation on top of it. This was just as it came from the facial capture directly.
Yeah, because you got to convince him that he can be subtle about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's fascinating. That's a good story. I enjoyed your answer to that question immensely. What's your favorite movie?
Oh my God. I have to say the movie that most influenced me is Star Wars. A New Hope came out in 1977 around Memorial Day weekend. And so my birthday is May 26th. I was 10 years old. We stood in line and saw Star Wars and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what that was, but I want to do that. But somehow that stuck with me. And when it sort of came time to make that decision of jumping back into visual effects or jumping into visual effects for the first time, it felt so right because it's like, oh, where have you been all my life? Yeah. So that was extraordinarily influential. So thank you to George Lucas and his amazing technical team at ILM for that, because here's to movies that inspire.
Yeah, definitely. Well said.
Speaking of Star Wars, what if Stormtroopers had good aim? Well, we imagined exactly what that is in an amazing video coming out tomorrow on the Corridor Digital channel, along with the behind the scenes, of course, on this channel. Make sure to subscribe to both so you don't miss out.
I got him.
This video does not have a sponsor, so we're gonna talk about CorridorDigital.com because there's a lot of cool things going on in that place that I wanna tell you about. Listen, if you like what we do here, we are putting so much effort into trying to build our own platform that we can put whatever we want without the algorithm gods hanging over us like Christian Bale wearing white makeup.
What is that?
So with the subscription, what do you get? Well, first off, you get early access to every single video we put out, usually about a day in advance. If you want to know what's going on before your friends do, your subscription will let you be cool. And you also get a discount on all the merch. We've got the green light page so you can actually vote on what we make. And I think that makes for the best content because we're gonna make what we want, but if you suggest something that we also wanna do, we'll do that. If you enjoy this show, we have extended episodes on our website. Sometimes we have these extended conversations, sometimes we go on tangents.
I didn't know we were gonna take this turn on this episode. This is great.
I didn't either. I did not either. And it doesn't really work in the actual YouTube video, which are very carefully cultivated with good pacing and interesting storylines. But sometimes we just want to jive about something or complain about something or talk about something needlessly and endlessly. We got music videos, we got all kinds of stuff, and that's just the VFX Artist React show on the website. There's a whole host of other shows that we've got going on. We got crew cuts. If you like the vlogs, we've got like over 100 episodes just waiting for you to just tap away and watch and do it all. We've got a few other shows like Functional Filmmaking, Son of a Dungeon Season 1. We are currently most of the way through Son of a Dungeon Season 2, and we have upgraded the technology across the board. It's gonna be so much better. I'm excited to see the final thing releasing in just a couple months. If you don't have the funds for our $4 a month subscription, that's totally okay. We've got a 14-day free trial that you can get by going to corridordigital.com. There's a link in the description, or just simply download the Corridor app on iOS or Android. Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant about how proud I am of our team. In the meantime, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next Saturday. Back to the video. Let's whip that way. You still haven't cut away. Now back to the video.
All right, quick story. Independence Day, when the Empire State Building blew up, blew my mind. Please leave a comment suggesting a visual effects or special effects shot that blew your mind when you saw it. Everybody, thank you for watching this episode. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome learning from you. The stories you've been telling are incredible. Go and watch one of those early films that inspired you to start loving movies as well. That's our promotional request here. And we'll see you guys either tomorrow for our Sunday video, or next Saturday, if for some reason you don't watch the Sunday videos, but whatever. All right, see you then.